Ready.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and kick it off. Notice is hereby given that the Board of Directors of the Green Mountain Water and Sanitation District of the County of Jefferson, State of Colorado will hold a regular meeting at 6 p.m. Tuesday, February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. 2023 at 13919 West Utah Avenue, Lakewood, Colorado 80228. This meeting will be held for the purpose of conducting such business as may come before the board. This meeting is open to the public. The virtual meeting option for those that may not be able to attend in person, the district will offer the option of participating in this meeting by a video/conference call. To attend, please go to https://us06 web.zoom.us/J 895-3322-5776 or call 669-900-6833 and enter the meeting ID 895-3322-5776. To troubleshoot issues with the connection at the time of the meeting, please follow the link https://support.zoom.us/en-us/sections-20305593-troubleshooting. If you still experience issues, email customer service at greenmountainwater.org and our IT staff will assist you as soon as possible. The district does not discriminate on the basis of race, age, national origin, color, creed, religion, sex, sexual orientation, or disability in the provision of services. People with disabilities needing reasonable accommodation to attend or participate in a district board meeting can call 303-985-1581 or email customer service at greenmountainwater.org for assistance. Please give notice as far in advance as possible so we may be able to accommodate your request. Agenda item number 1 is called to order and declaration of a quorum. Jeff Baker present.
Todd Hooks present.
Dave Wickman here.
Karen Morgan present.
Roger Wendell present.
All 5 directors are present. I declare a quorum. We will close agenda item number 1 and move into agenda item number 2. Directors matters, disclosure matters. Anything to discuss or disclose? I just see none, so we will close agenda item number 2 and open agenda item number 3, approval of additions to and deletions from the agenda. Do we have any?
Yes, I move to add a brief discussion of disclosure of privileged information, which would be directors matters 9B.
Disclosure of,
Privileged information.
is that, you want to make that in the form of a motion?
Yes,
Okay.
I move to add a discussion of disclosure of privileged information to 9B on the agenda.
Okay, I will second the motion. We have discussion. No further discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have 5 ayes, 0 nays, so we will move that to 9B. Are there any?
Also like to ask if, to clarify, are we having public discussion on, we have on Ravines Bridge, we have that under the capital and engineering, we also have that under executive session. Is there a public piece to that before that? Or policy, or after the executive session at any point?
I was thinking about after the executive session, since we haven't had a chance to meet as a board. We got the email from Lakewood, so I think we need to have our discussion, talk to Dylan, and then we will probably come out with something for the public.
Okay.
That's my thinking. What are
Okay.
you thinking, or the rest of the board?
I'm
Well-
fine with that because I haven't. I guess. I mean, I'd like to know what everyone's thoughts are before I make a decision.
As long as there is a public piece someplace, I think we could do either or both. So can I move to add the public discussion of the Ravine Bridge policy to be number 12, a new number 12 before new business after the executive session?
So you want a public discussion for public comment or public discussion, public comment at 12.
Probably a wrap up of what then we're doing, where we stand.
Okay, so we'll have a public
Portion of this.
disclosure, yeah, Republic Ravine Bridge update. Okay, I will second. Do we have discussion? No discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
We have 5 ayes, 0 nays. That motion passes. Are there any other additions to or deletions from the agenda?
Jeff, Scott is going to be available via Zoom for the oral argument update. He wants to know when you would like him.
We could get him in early. I mean, is he ready to go?
I expect so.
Okay, is that a or is that an executive session or is that?
I think it will be.
Okay, then we'll wait. We'll have to wait till executive session. Then.
Okay.
So, and it's on there. So we
Yes.
have that. Okay. Okay, any further agenda items? I see none. We will close that. We will move into public comment. Limit 5 minutes per person for past motion of the Green Mountain Board of Directors, May 11, 2021. Members of the public wishing to address the board during the public comment period are asked to keep their comments civil and related to the items in the agenda or to the conduct of the district business. Members of the public wishing to address the board will be recognized by the board to maintain proper decorum. Since the Green Mountain Water and Sanitation District Board values your input, we always offer additional opportunities for the public to provide comments by using the district's email system or by phoning into customer service in the event they do not get on during the meeting period set aside for public comment. So do we have anybody in the room that wishes to speak? If we do, we'll probably roll this way. So, okay, we'll start there.
Arlo was going to help me pass out a couple Valentines. Do you want to do that? Right, so Todd.
This is Todd
Thank you.
Go. Yeah.
right here. Well, there's 2 Jeffs. That's good Jeff, bad Jeff. Thank you.
David?
Is there any chocolate?
Unfortunately, no.
There's a whole bunch right there. I work for chocolate.
Karen?
Thank you very much. That was very thoughtful of you.
What it says? Yeah, we made a little pun. It says, have a heart and stay like this. Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you.
And we're just here again. I'm Katie again. Nice to see you all. We're just again here as community members to say that we are hopeful after Lakewood came to Green Mountain on the 8th of February to have some conversation with the proposal about liability and some other pieces with the bridges, and we're hopeful that Green Mountain Water will be coming back with Lakewood about those next steps that we can keep our bridges as pedestrian use. I think that's it. Are you saying anything? Thank you. Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Sounds good. My name is Peter Zalszewski. I am a resident of the neighborhood, and I have been advocating to keep the 3 bridges in the ravines open space open for pedestrian use, and for the board to cancel or approve the motion to barricade these 3 bridges. On February 8th, in the best interest of the community, the city of Lakewood sent Green Mountain Water a proposal stating ways they were willing to work together to keep all 3 bridges open for pedestrian use. This included the willingness to assume all potential tort liability for pedestrian use of each structure. This has been one of Green Mountain Water's key concerns. The city also noted its willingness to work cooperatively towards mitigating erosion. I'm here to ask Green Mountain Water to consider this proposal and to ask that if the proposal is not accepted, that you continue to work, communicate with, and negotiate with the city of Lakewood to find a solution that keeps these 3 bridges open for pedestrian use in perpetuity. Next, our community has come together to form the committee Save Ravines Open Space Bridges, of whom I am one of the representatives. We are willing and able to be intermediaries between entities upon request. Also, I would like to request that the board acknowledges this committee in 2 ways. Is willing to meet its representatives outside of the board meetings to discuss the matter, is willing to add to the next board meeting agenda a discussion session with this representative. Finally, I have a response to former Green Mountain Water Board member Dave Garner from the previous meeting. First, Mr. Gardner stated that it was the board's fiduciary duty under Title 32 to represent all members of the district and not a small few. You specifically stated that we are very small. Mr. Garner, I strongly disagree with this viewpoint. First, I'd ask the rhetorical question, can a minority not have just cause? Perhaps the title should consider logical requests such as working to keep bridges open to school children. Next, we are not a very small group. We represent a much larger group, and it's not just those who have shown to the board meetings. We currently have 270 petition signatures, and this is gaining daily. It is obvious that we have limited ability to reach all those who are impacted by these closures, and that this number would grow substantially if that were the case. When you say that your opinion aligns with others within the district, how does this number compare to 270? Please confirm this with your own petition. I'd like to know who would be willing to sign a petition that closes bridges for children to safely walk to school. I note that Title 32 also states that the board is given power to divide the district into areas according to the water or sanitation services furnished or to be furnished therein. Even if under your definition, hundreds of people are the minority, the board has the power to satisfy individualized needs. This is a need worth satisfying, and there are ways to do so considering the board's fiduciary duty. Second, Mr. Garner stated that it would be a violation of the board's fiduciary duty to spend money to maintain a bridge. There's a clear flaw to your logic. It turns out that maintaining bridges that structurally support wastewater conveyance pipes is in fact not optional. Spending $60,000 to barricade bridges is an incredibly wasteful, illogical, and irresponsible decision, and it is not in the best interest of the district's constituents, as you are suggesting. It is literally the opposite. Money is being spent to purposely delay the required maintenance to keep the wastewater conveyance safely operating and to avoid environmental disaster. This is money that could simply be used to pay a significant portion of fixing the middle bridge. To add to this, Green Mountain Water has specifically stated that only the middle bridge needs repair. This means that $40,000 of $60,000 is being used to barricade fully functional structures. To add to this, the city of Lakewood has stated that it is willing to take on the liability of pedestrian use. So if liability was an argument, it is no longer valid. Finally, you argued that those with your viewpoint could potentially take action if the board were to act absent their fiduciary duty. Per my comments above, I would argue that those who support our viewpoint could also potentially take action, as we clearly believe barricading these bridges is an action absent their fiduciary duty. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else going this way? Okay.
I just wanted to let you know, my name is Randy Little. I'm putting my application for the next cycle of election for the Green Mountain Water Board. Lived in Green Mountain area for 50 years and just think this is a great idea, but I think we just want to get on this board. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Mike, or I'm sorry. Right there.
Thanks. My name is Matt Bergen. Live in the Green Mountain area, about 2 houses removed from, I guess I'll say, the upper bridge, the bridge closest to this building. Primarily came tonight because I've been, talking with my neighbors and want to support them in their efforts. What they've done to bring this cause, to light and to, keep the conversation going with the board. I use the bridge. I'll just speak a little bit about, myself, living 2 houses removed from the bridge. I use the bridge daily to walk my dog. I have a 7-year-old daughter who will be attending Divinity this year. So anticipating using the bridge to take her to and from school. And it's just been a great thing. This is my wife and I's first, house, our first house, outside of an apartment type of situation. And it's been really lovely to have, the access to the green space, whether it be on foot, whether it be for biking, just to take a little breath, breath of fresh air, get out of the house, get into that green space. I think that's a major reason why we decided to purchase that house, because we did have that access. So it certainly concerns me, the idea of, that access so close to our home being taken away, not only just for, the joy, also for obviously the property values. I'm sure, people, my colleagues have talked about that in the past. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Just want to be here to support let you know there's somebody else in the neighborhood wants to keep the bridge open. And I would vote to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike?
I'm gonna stand up here because I'm going to do a little bit of drawing too. I pulled this off the Green Mountain Water Board. This is the mission statement. Providing reliable water and sanitary service. That's good. To build trust and positive relationships. We're suffering on that. Safety, integrity, reliability, and accountability. Accountability. You want to spend $250,000 on a bridge so he can walk his dog. The last one is help customers conserve water, continue to invest in capital improvements for drinking water, line replacement, sewer pipelining, network infrastructure, and employee retention. It does not say here that we are responsible for putting a bridge in an open space for people in a neighborhood that want to walk their dog. $250,000 is the last number I heard. What kind of stuff are you guys smoking? It's not legal in the state, and this state has everything that's legal. 2 years ago, I talked to an engineer. He said that pipe will stand by itself for the next 50 years. There is no emergency for that pipe. And I said, is there something we can do to support that pipe? He says, yeah. He said, there's a brace you can put in. It's a triangle, looks like this. And then there's little beams that go up to like this, but it goes all the way out. You've seen them, it looks like a radio tower. He said, you put one of those across, put footers on both ends, attach the pipe to the bottom of it, nothing's gonna happen to it. He says, you can do that for under $15,000. $15,000 to support the pipe and do what's on your mission statement. $15,000. There's another one I talked to. He says, you can go, here's your pipe, like this. He says, you can put an arch like this and run supports down to it. Or you can have a straight pipe, a straight one, and have a footer in the middle of the ditch. This one would be more expensive than this one, but it'd be around 25,000 because you have to get the equipment down there to drill this footer. This will support the pipe. That is what your job is, to support the pipe, not put in a footbridge. There's no way you guys can justify spending that kind of money so he can walk his dog. No way, no how. Elections are coming. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm gonna leave this for the board to read so they can memorize it.
Go ahead.
This mission statement exists when those bridges were put in. At the onset of our community, someone at that time felt that it was desirable for the Lakewood community to have access across that ravine. If that mission statement was good then, it's good now.
Thank you. Yes.
I'd like to just add, I'm not sure if everybody is aware of the letter that Lakewood has written.
We've all seen it.
Okay, I'm not sure if all the community members have seen it. Let's go ahead and read it real quick, not very long. I'll skip down to points 1A and 2. The city of Lakewood will assume all potential tort liability for pedestrian use of the 3 structures. This would be accomplished in a number of different ways. Most simply, a long-term lease of the surface of each structure, and Lakewood is willing to discuss in good faith a manner agreeable to both parties. 1A. Further, the city of Lakewood would agree to maintain and operate the surface of each structure for the purpose of pedestrian use. 2, the city of Lakewood would also agree to work cooperatively toward mitigating erosion as a result of the flow of water into the ravine. I don't know all the terms and all of the ongoing communication you might have with them. But as a layman, I read that and it looks like they're saying that they're gonna operate the pedestrian use of that bridge. So it doesn't sound like there's a need to build another structure. It doesn't sound like there's a need to spend additional money in building another structure. Maintaining the current 3 structures seems to me, at least based on this letter, is the goal. So I don't think anybody's asking for a new bridge. I don't believe anybody is demanding a new bridge. I think we have 3 structures that are operable today that accomplish 2 things. They are for pedestrian use, and 2, they hang the pipes, as you like to say. So minimal maintenance is probably needed to continue operating these bridges for pedestrian use. I don't think anybody's asking to build $250,000 structure. That may have been something negotiated in the past. I'm not aware of all the details on that, but I know it exists today. So I'd like to focus on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else in the room before I go to online? Okay, going on. All right, Alex, I'm gonna go left to right as I'm looking up there. Alex, you have the floor. Please unmute yourself.
Can you hear me okay? Okay. So good evening, everyone. Happy Valentine's Day. I'm going to read a short statement here. Fiduciary is a person or organization that acts on behalf of another person or persons, putting their client's interests ahead of their own, with the duty to preserve good faith and trust. Being a fiduciary thus requires being bound both legally and ethically to act in the other's best interest. Kind of coincidentally today, I received a mailer from a law firm that states you may have been unaware of your exposure. Studies suggest that long-term exposure to ethyl oxide may cause blood, lymphatic, and bone cancers, breast cancers, brain cancers, prostate cancers, kidney cancers, pancreatic cancers, ovarian cancers, bladder cancers, stomach cancers. I'm presuming we're not going to be the only household in Lakewood receiving these mailers tonight, today, tomorrow, or in the coming weeks. For those of you slightly unaware, this is most likely related to the incident with Terumo BCT and several other facilities around the US. And so the reason I bring this up is the fiduciary duty. I've reached out to the city of Lakewood in the past on this matter regarding Terumo BCT, and the response that I got back left a lot to be desired. So I would ask that at least this board going forward will take their fiduciary responsibility very, very seriously when it comes to environmental and engineering concerns when it comes to certain areas within the district. And I would presume that this board knows what those areas are. Thank you for everything you do. I know it's a tough job. I've been there myself, and have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Anastasia, do you want to unmute yourself?
Sure. Good evening. My name is Anastasia Urban. I am with Solterra LLC. As the developer of the Solterra community, we have submitted the remaining applications for certificates of sewer service availability in filings 18, 20, and 21, including corresponding fees. We are requesting that the Green Mountain Board take action to approve these remaining taps. And if there's any updates that the board could give us, we would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Anastasia. Ludmilla, do you want to unmute yourself, please?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, I'd like to start out by giving you my condolences, Mr. Baker. Words cannot express the sympathy I feel for your loss, and I hope you find comfort for the pain your heart feels. I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
All right, business. The city posted on their website their story regarding the history of the ravine structures. The rumors flourishing, and Green Mountain Water should put out the fires, be proactive, and address the facts of who maintained the upper portions of the structures and why, after 50 years, the city stepped away from their upkeep. I'd like to know if the rumors are true. The city of Lakewood wants to wash their hands of the structures and build a new bridge. This would mean Green Mountain Water customers would be paying for 3 structures plus a new bridge. I give kudos to Ms. Morgan as she has addressed the issue directly to the public. I was disappointed with district manager's response given to an individual regarding the structures which the individual posted on Nextdoor. Has there been any further discussions between the city of Lakewood and Green Mountain Water? I understand the liability issue, as well as Green Mountain Water is only responsible for the distribution of water and the collection of the sewage. After watching numerous meetings, I want to again commend Ms. Morgan for all the work that she does in researching and preparing for these meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Mello. Okay, anybody else online? Oh, I'm sorry, Lou Mello, did you have something else to say? Your hand is raised.
Sorry.
Okay,
No worries.
all right. Anyone else in the room? I'm gonna close it out. Okay, public comment is now closed. We will move into agenda item number 5, which is approval of the minutes, and I would like to motion to approve the October 25th, 2022 special board meeting minutes, the November 29th, 2022 special board meeting minutes, the December 13th, 2022 regular meeting, board meeting minutes, and the December 15th special board meeting minutes. Do I have a second?
I will second it.
I'll say, I would ask that we table it. As secretary, I feel it's responsible for me to read through it and you know, be confident on it. That's 4 meetings that I got this weekend on top of everything else is going on. I just really haven't had time to give it the attention that it deserves.
So what are you?
I would like to table it till next.
All of them?
Yes, please.
Well, we're not meeting next week that I'm aware of.
Well, next meeting.
Okay, all right.
Then does
Well,
he-
I made a motion, so
Would you like to withdraw?
I will withdraw the motion based on your request, so.
Yeah, so my motion will be that we table it to our next meeting.
Well, I withdrew it, so there's no motion, so I withdrew my motion, so we'll close agenda item number 5. We will have to push those forward, Jeff.
Yes, no problem.
Okay, agenda item number 6, the district manager report. Jeff, you're up.
Okay, the district manager report, we'll keep it brief. We did have a big recognition for all the work that Austin Paterno has done. He's done a great work, and he submitted his resignation and is gonna leave at the 1st of March to go work for a controls organization. So I'd like to thank Austin for all his great work. He's done a great job. And then we come out with the dashboard for asset care, customer service, and the maintenance report. Any questions on those slides?
No, but so the dashboards, you know, we're working on this 6 Sigma stuff, so eventually, you know, that'll all be modifying down the road, so. Once we get clear of some of these other issues.
Okay, and then the project manager.
Question on Austin. He's one of the big players. Do we have a replacement in mind and stuff?
Yes,
So I talked to Jeff before the board meeting, so just to be transparent to everybody, so. There is a succession plan, so we have a competent member. Next person up will step into Austin's position, and then that person who is stepping up, their position will also be covered by a competent, and we will be opening up a position for a service tech, correct?
correct.
Thank you.
And then in the project management slide, we talk about we're on the capital for a new generator for the Pink pump station, along with backup batteries for a lot of the other pump stations.
Pink zone, that's over, that's the Union Quarter.
Yeah, that's a critical zone. Supplies water to St. Anthony's Hospital, hotels, all the commercials. So we'll have a backup diesel generator for that zone.
What's the scope of that? Can you just,
Scope just putting in a transfer switch, we'll buy the generator, because we have approved vendors to buy generators, and then hooking up the 40-volt to the 3 pumps in the station. So we lose power to the automatic transfer switch.
what size, diesel generator or natural
Yeah,
gas?
we're looking at diesel because of people are starting to go away from natural gas because the fire in Superior, a lot of those generators that ran the drinking water pump station with natural gas, and they lost them that, they had to shut off the natural gas because of the fire, so.
So are you gonna have an issue getting an air permit for this diesel generator? Because that's why everyone goes to natural gas.
I think that, are we talking to our vendor? I could double check, but Rocky Mountain Cummins, their new Cummins engines are approved for just, air emissions.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying that sometimes the Colorado air permits,
Yeah,
do we have any of those? Do we have to manage air permits within our district here?
now, as long as we buy the approved emissions, diesel Cummins engines, they're, as long as they're approved.
Okay.
We're looking good.
So what's the size of the generator?
Now, we have the size of the,
Okay.
it's gonna run 375 horsepower motors.
Okay,
And then under operations, everything is running pretty smoothly. We're in compliance. There's a lot of new Colorado Department of Public Health and regulations on drinking water storage tank cleaning. So we're working hard to clean our drinking water storage tanks to get ready for peak demand. And also, we're testing a new video camera for the sewer system. That, anything else on the district manager report?
so. I was looking for. Oh, okay, so, okay, we got the red zone in executive session, okay, all right, no questions. That's all I have,
That concludes the district manager report.
all right, thank you. Okay, agenda item number 7, capital and construction projects.
So I just made the bullet points in the, just to cover some of the bullet points on the project, so we're in the process of lining the Bear Creek sewer line that goes through Bear Creek Golf Course. And that's on schedule, should be completed by the end of March. So it's going on, they're working on it during the day now. And then the Kipling and Alameda sewer line, the first step is we had to submit a proposal work order to Xcel Energy to relocate a 6-inch gas line. So Xcel said they'll try to do that the second week of March. And then the ravines barricades are looking at being fabricated. And also, the continued issue that's been going on for at least 3 years is how to support the center crossing. I know the Merrick first came out with pylons and now they're proposing cantilevers. So I think, Merrick's done a lot of water and wastewater work for us. So this is kind of not our expertise on trying to, we could come up with different ideas if you want, because it's still in the design stages on the center structure.
So I don't want Merrick working on, do I need to make a motion on that? I don't want them working on anything else in this district at this point. Now that I understood when we were on the ravine bridge thing, we were at the 90%. And I didn't want to waste all that. But now that they're at some level of redesign, I don't want them doing anything.
Yeah, I think that level of amendment to district business would be appropriate for a motion.
Okay, I'm motioning to, I guess, ban Merrick from doing any further engineering or design for the district going forward. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second and we have discussion.
So is the thinking that so at this point, say if they're wanting to redesign it, are they saying that their original design was inadequate? I guess I'd be curious to know what their thoughts would be as to why.
So the original design was for the center structure to be supported with pylons. And they sent it out for bid in 2021, in the beginning of 2022, they only had one bid come back. And so now they're worried about the logistics of trying to move equipment into the ravines open space to install pylons and also they don't have a whole lot of contacts with dealing with bidders for pylons. But it kind of correlates to what we're saying is we don't have a whole lot of research on trying to work with these center structures because we're mainly work on water and sewer lines and pumping. So that's why this has been going on for so many years.
I want to follow up on the bridge. But you're talking about all work. Now, we took them off practically everything in December,
Keyword is practically,
and this was remaining
and
and.
we stood on that. Well,
Is that, anybody, what else are they doing?
They're doing Bear Creek, they're in the process of doing Bear Creek sewer lining, and they've done the design work on the Kipling sewer line.
And you're suggesting take them off those as well?
no, I'm saying because they're in a rework level, that this is an additional, that they want to do a cantilever type thing. And I'm wanting to make sure that, like I said, to not create or be redundant or waste money. That's why I'm like, look, we stay with them on the ravine because they were at the 90% design level. Nobody rolls, nobody stops at 90%. There, you're done, your go, it's a go. But now there's this rework thing, and I'm not okay with that. Because that's gonna take us back. We're gonna go back under the 90% level, and I'm not okay with that.
I believe your motion was to ban them from all work for the district.
I thought he said future work, but
Future work,
All future work,
all future work. So the Kipling and Bear Creek would stay in place.
everything that they're.
yeah, that they're currently involved.
Everything that everyone, that they're currently, already signed, everything signed and done. Yes, they stay with that, any future work, and I consider this ravine bridge now. The future work, and it's, to me, it's almost like it's a redesign.
Okay, in that case, and I would have agreed before if we figured it out, but in that case, I'm just going to agree, but I'd like to also talk to you because that. This design, I agree, and I wanted to stop it before at the 90%, and I can't remember at what point that was. And part of the reason was that Merrick, and I didn't want to say then. But Merrick, I don't think has the experience to be doing this, and I think this proves it. Because now we're going back once again and redesigning something different again. I would like to suggest that when we go back and do, so the person who we find somebody else to work on a design. And leave the door open, which is what we should have done before, leave the door open to designs and how this will work. Except that, I'd like to point out that we talked at the last meeting, this was supposed to be going out to bid already. This design came up and it was going out to bid and it was done. So this is walking it back a step. I don't know what happened, but at that point, I registered an objection to the design as it was with just the pylons, because as of May of last year, we made a motion that we were just going to do the trestle. We were just going to do the little drawing.
Yep.
And that's not what the design came back. So since May, I don't know what has been going on since May, but since May, what we got back in December, January now, I'm gonna lose track. The designs that we looked at last that were going to bid had nothing to do with the trestle and pipe structure. That was for redoing a pedestrian bridge. Current estimates are over 350. The last communication I saw was 500,000 for the pedestrian bridge. We can't spend money on a pedestrian bridge. That's a dual use thing that the city would have to chip in. We can do a pipe and trestle, and that's what we voted for last May. So I suggest that we go back to what the board voted for last May and get somebody else to design what we voted for.
Okay, so. I've got a motion though. So
Yes,
let's get out
but
of
that
this
is
one.
somebody else.
Yeah, I mean,
to
let's
design
follow,
it.
why don't we finish this and then
Okay.
let's open another motion. So
You're right.
any further discussion?
Is that Terry on the call?
Maybe.
No, it's Terry Larson from Fossil Ridge.
Okay.
No further discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye, the motion passes.
So motion for, to find a new engineer to do a design of the pipe and trestle that we.
Okay, we need to be,
For the middle structure.
Jeff, we're gonna be very clear on this because to Director Morgan's point and my point going back 4 years, this is really been a lot of stuff. So to be clear, let's be very clear here for Jeff. So on the motion. Okay, I will second the motion and
Okay.
we'll go into discussion. Sorry.
The original motion, and I don't have it, it was our usual unclear, but the original motion was to give direction to start the design of a new trestle and the new line, because this was going to move it off the existing pedestrian bridge. That was we didn't know if it was north or south, but it was going to move it off of the pedestrian bridge. It would to decrease some of the erosion, and we would have to get the new easement that would align with the new path. So we needed the design for the structure, for the line, and the easement control.
Okay,
Am I missing anything?
you got that all, or is that clear?
Yeah, it's very clear. So we'll work with, make sure the easement is correct first, and then we'll look at the structure of just trestle holding up the pipe.
Is it a new pipe or
It's
is it?
a new pipe in a new trestle in a new location, so the easement will have to wait until we find a new location.
I don't know if the survey of the as-built ever was finished.
So I have that as a question, because the as-built were, I mean, we have. In September, he said that he completed a survey and they started fixing the easement. I don't know whatever happened to that, but it was of the existing manholes. It was not of the new line that was supposed to be done, and now we see that the design that came back last month wasn't for the new structure at all. There's no new line. So whatever has been going on since May has not been what we motioned for.
So Jesse, going back to the GIS, I thought we had everything kind of updated, right? So we now had the clear understanding of where the actual real easement levels are now. That's in our maps.
We do have all of the easements that we had paper documents for here digitized.
Okay.
I mean, in some cases though, certainly old easements we found are inaccurate. Like it's not always right on. So
I thought there was some satellite or there was something updated.
we have
Here,
everything's, all of our lines, all the utility pieces are GPS. So that might be the accuracy that
Yeah,
you're thinking of
yeah,
there.
yeah.
So that lays right over the top of the aerial imagery. So we could see accurately where everything exists real world, and the easement would lay over that area, but that easement's just created from the document. What my point is that like when they've gone back and checked them, sometimes in construction stuff, there's errors, like where it's off, or the mapping guidance is off from where the easement's actually supposed to be.
Thank you. So there will be a component, so there will be a component with legal on this, on the easement levels, or to make sure.
So, yeah.
So we need to make sure that the engineer, whoever's doing this, is coordinating with Dylan and whatever going forward, so we don't waste time, money and all this stuff if we're out of boundary or something.
I believe the as-built for the ravines open space lines have been surveyed. I don't know if there has been a legal description of the as-built prepared. It should have been as part of this project eventually, but I don't know.
Whose responsibility is that to get the legal description filed with what, Jeffco?
Well. Probably it was Green Mountain's obligation to prepare the legal, present that to Lakewood, and Lakewood's gonna either amend or re-grant an easement for the as-built unless we're moving the line. If we're moving the line, it's gonna be a new easement.
So do I need to have this is gonna be a separate motion then? Do I need to motion then to have the district go off and start working this to get this done?
The legal, I think we just need to get that from Merrick.
No, but to get this filed correctly, right? It sounds like we just, what are we missing here? I just don't want to keep going down the road here.
Yeah.
We're obviously with all these folks in here, we're up against time and I thought this was all done at some point.
Yeah, if you're going to, it depends what you're gonna do with the structure. Because if you're gonna reroute the line, even that small portion of it that crosses through the air, you're gonna need a new legal anyway. If you're not moving the line, any part of the line, the work that's already been done is sufficient.
So that, this,
Where
I'm
did
just,
this come from?
I made this, I went back through all the old ones, because I'm referencing dates that are on here, if you need them. For example, Terry says in September that he submitted the easement to Lakewood for review. So that's something different. Right now, the motion on the table is just to start the design phase for the trestle and
Yes.
the new line.
So then, given what you're saying, are we then saying we would be abandoning the current bridge?
Yes,
Just a single bridge. The one we've been talking about.
the one that needs repair, yeah.
Okay,
This is the middle bridge. This is also the bridge that Lakewood has said they do not want, and that's what started this off. They do not want, take everything and go, because they don't want to talk to us about it.
Okay. Is it okay? Do you have an extra one of those?
Yes,
Could you give one to Peter, please? So he seems to be representing a coalition over there. Is that okay with the board to do this legal?
Fine, it's.
Trying to help the public out with understanding how we got to where we are. I mean, this just didn't happen. This has been a 4-year process. It has been a topic of several board meetings. And yeah, so
well,
anyway, all right, so we have the motion. Are there any further discussion on that? Are you clear on the motion?
Yeah, so the motion is, we will look at the new design with the new engineering company for a trestle to reroute the pipe with correct easement, holding up the pipe correctly.
You want that to be to out for bid. That's design, so it's not construction. It doesn't have to go out to bid.
we probably gather a wider audience though, because it would be posted.
I think if you're getting rid of the long-term engineer for the district, I would recommend putting the design out for bid. That's additional time, but I think you'll appreciate the data you get that way.
I would agree.
So Jeff, you capture all that?
Do we need to do that by motion? He can do that.
I just know we rush a lot on you and stuff. I just want to make sure we're not.
Yes, I have it. We'll send out the design of basically a structure to hold up the sewer pipe crossing the ditch. We'll send that out for bid through BidNet. That's our approved bid.
and this is with the new engineering firm,
Yes.
Well,
To
yeah,
get.
to get it there.
right?
Okay, any further discussion on this motion?
I will say, everything sounds like I'm in accordance, but I'm always upset about making these decisions on the fly. This is kind of like a big thing, and it's just kind of coming out of nowhere from my perspective.
No, it's not. This was on the table several board meetings ago. She's talking about back in May, we're talking.
Get rid of Terry?
Yes.
Oh, yes, that's been an ongoing discussion too.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So,
Just as a note, Terry retired, so it's Merrick.
yeah,
Okay, that's right, we did discuss Mary. All right, like I say, I'm always a little. Hate to jump, but okay, yeah, I remember that discussion, okay.
It's merit, but it's the fact that this whole redesign came up. What, Friday, I mean, the last, the district manager previous construction sheet didn't mention cantilevers. So it's within the last week, we find out that we're going to be redesigning the structure, and I was uncomfortable with Merrick designing it in the first place, because I knew they didn't know how to do the bridge structure, and now it's messed up. We didn't even get the trestle we
well,
motioned for.
we spent the money at or where this originated, we spent a money for a geotechnical firm to go out and give us options based on the soil conditions of the area.
But those can also be used with a new
Yes.
engineer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's
So-
money that's not,
Well, right, I'm just saying that, that's where we started, and then they should have been able to go off of that into a design, and now that we're having a redesign, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
The redesign.
I'm like not happy with that, so.
Yes, all Merrick's work they do for us, we own all the documentation, we own all the files.
Okay. All right, any further discussion on this motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye, we have a 5 ayes, 0 nays, so the motion passes.
I would like to make another motion that the board approves the design before it reaches the next stage. When we get to that point, it is not now, but there have been multiple misunderstandings about what we're going on. And if this had gone to bid as it was supposed to do as of last month, we would have been getting we would have been getting construction bids for the pylons that we are not using, that wasn't under construction. So I would like to motion,
Aaron, before you do that, so can I just give you,
yes,
typically you have a 30, 60, and 90 when you're working in the project management level. So you would want it at the 30%. You would probably add in your motion for board approval at the 30, 60, and 90.
okay,
That way you're making sure that you're read in on everything. Once you're at 90, it's done. But yeah, 30, 60, and 90 is what you need to add into the motion.
okay. I would motion to review the designs at the 30, 60, and 90 stages,
Review and approve.
review and approve. Just let you do this.
You're smarter than I am.
Obviously not. Okay, review and approve the design for the middle structure at 30, 60, and 90% completion points.
I will second that motion. Do we have discussion?
Review and consider approval.
That's what that is. It's like the review is
You
the
can-
consideration. If we don't like it, and so we don't end up in this kind of,
Well, keep in mind, you approve all drawings, that's in your bylaws.
So you're
But-
just
but
kind of
it's a-
taking it through
but
like
it's like
schematic
100
and then
it's like a
design
90%
development,
drawing.
and then like right before they would finish the construction documents.
And we didn't approve the last one.
This is not really anything different than what we ordinarily do.
Well,
Well,
you're
they were,
approving about 90% of the drawing. Well, yeah, now you'll see that 30, 60, 90.
we ought to probably like change that in how the board operates, but you should be doing that anyway. That's why you have a 30, 60, and 90. All the stakeholders, that's when you say you like it or you don't.
And the motion is saying these are things that we want to do. We're not,
so that,
we're not looked into anything at this point.
that does bring up one question for me. So say there's a more simplistic, better way to do this. And we're at 30, 60, 90, is that gonna make it a 3-month process if it's something that design can actually be completed in like 30 or 40 days to get from that to that? Are we hindering it by saying we want a 30, 60, 90?
So I'm not a project manager. Is anyone a project manager in here? Typically, you can jump over, right? I mean, you could end up saying we're moving up. Is it okay to talk to the public?
Yeah, 30 and a 90, you can do it that way.
Yeah, so it can jump if it's a smaller scale deal, but typically that's the kind of cadence you want to make sure you're hitting those benchmarks. And you're reviewing them, and then, in the event that the firm can actually manage that or something like that, you could see a jump. I mean, it's possible. You just want to make sure that, especially on something like this at this point, obviously we've had a lot of eyes on it and stuff like that, and it's frustrating for me. We're still doing this, so.
It's very frustrating. I think for design phase, we're gonna have trouble with 30, 60, 90, but let's give it a try.
Okay. So any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. 5 ayes, 0 nays, the motion passes. Any further discussion on I guess this was, where are we? On the ravine water and sewer barricades on 7A3 or, yeah,
Yes, I'm afraid I do.
okay.
Can you explain what happened, what's going on with the barricades? You said they're in prefab, but there's also a misunderstanding about what's going on with those, and do we need permits or not? You made a mention of that.
Yeah, so the ravine barricades are in the design prefab stages, and the only thing we might need a permit from the city of Lakewood on is if they're 8 feet tall, so it looks like they'll be about, right now, 6.5 feet tall.
Okay,
So they're getting ready to be welded, made, fabricated, made.
okay, that's good clarification, because design prefab is different than fab. And then you did get clarification about the permits, because that's what started off, we started off in November, talking about how the city was looking at the barricades. We had discussion about why they were looking at that and the permit process. So as long as they're underneath 8, there's nothing else we need to do. That sound right to everybody for
Correct.
permitting in Lakewood?
So Lakewood's concern is that it needs to be under 8 feet.
Well, there was an issue if it gets to a certain height, he's saying over 6, the.
Yeah, so the city of Lakewood says if it's 8 feet or over, you need a building permit.
Now, of course, the going up 8 feet is against those guardrails. And there's nothing to brace it against. I don't know how it's gonna work. So
So there's still a permitting issue, though. I mean, we still, Lakewood, I believe everything's been in Lakewood. Is that correct?
the bear,
Permitting?
Yeah, that's the only thing that was brought up with our meeting on site with the fabricator engineer for the city of Lakewood was possible build, the height of the barricade. So there's nothing else that I am aware of at this point. I could double check that we need city of Lakewood, since we could we build them and bolt them on to the structures.
Okay.
well, I would recommend checking that out and making sure, like, that we kind of had this discussion back in November, and yes, we did have a misunderstanding that all of this was in to Lakewood for review, and it was not. So before we proceed with anything, let's make sure that whatever we need to do gets permitted or not, however it needs to be. But let's check on that before we start fabricating. Are you aware of anything that we would need to permit?
I don't have any experience with Lakewood's permitting process at that level, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, some of my frustration with that, just as somebody that, has pulled permits, is you have building codes, et cetera, there's, it should be a standardized thing. You should know what you're doing. I don't know.
It wouldn't surprise me if there's literally a miscellaneous permit associated with. the
Well,
project.
it's just kind of like this. It's frustrating. This is all frustrating. This is not like very unique, so. Anyway,
Well, I would agree. That's why I think it would be worth checking before proceeding, because when we brought it up in November, Mr. Titus said they were in review, and I asked what was going on with that, and you weren't surprised by that either then, that yes, there may be something. So if we do need a permit and the design needs to be approved or something needs to be approved, don't start work until we figure that out.
Yeah, one.
Well, they wouldn't allow us to.
no, you
Well,
can't.
but if we're getting it fabricated to some design that they need to approve, that's what I'm saying. So don't wait to find out until after we built it.
Yeah,
And I-
the chicken and the egg thing,
Right.
right? So,
I was understanding that all of this was already through Lakewood and these plans have not been submitted, so we
Okay.
need to start again.
okay,
Has there been a design selected? Is that part of?
yes, we did
Yeah,
that.
yeah, the design selected, it's just the height so far, but we'll double check.
I believe we left that up to the manager. It was not a board vote.
Okay,
That was again another design. That's why I want to make sure we're checking these things.
okay. Anything else on the ravine?
No, is that maybe that is worth another. Approve the design before it gets built.
Well, we already did, so it's the
We-
fan deal. It's like,
The fan deal.
it's just specification level now, but that's what I'm saying, like the engineering. It's not really a manager thing, it's the engineer. It's the
Yeah.
specifications of the design to, join that structure, right? So they're just specification, that's an engineering level thing.
Yeah, well, I think, anyway,
Anyway,
does, Okay,
All right, I think we're on to replacement sewer line West Kentucky Avenue.
Yeah, so JVA Engineering did the modeling for that to ensure if we replace the 12-inch line that's over capacity with the 15-inch line will be under capacity, so their calculations show 0.65 D/D, which is under the 0.7. For 15-inch. So now they're going with the design and scope, and we'll make sure you get, we'll stick with 30, 60, 90 for all approval for drawings, and also keep you in the loop for all the scope of the work.
Well, so to be clear, I don't think we're talking about necessarily always like pipe work type stuff. I don't think we need a 30, 60, 90 on that.
No,
We're talking about projects, something like the Ravine Bridge. I know you don't need to do that on piping, Jeff.
For
Is that? I should have been more clear on that, I guess.
Yeah, I'm sure for some sort of threshold level, but that's hard to define.
Well, I guess I'm talking about structures, I mean, piping, we do that all day long, and we do that in our sleep, so. I don't think there's any, unless the board disagrees with me, I don't think there's any need for 30, 60, 90 approval from the board on piping.
yes, and trust me, it'll help us out a great deal too, because what happened was in July, we met with the city of Lakewood out there on the ravines, and they were talking about erosion control, and that's where the pylons came from, was in July, so everything kept shifting because of erosion and all this, so that's why it helped us out a great deal too on these oddball structures that we're not accustomed to. That's not water wastewater piping to just take one step at a time with 30, 60, 90. So that would help us out a great deal.
So not that I want to keep poking this stupid hornet's nest, but I'm gonna. So when you were out there in July with Lakewood, and we're talking about this erosion control, lots of erosion that is basically from an issue of their parks. What did they say about that? I mean, obviously, this isn't like a natural occurring event. This is something that is systemic from the use in the area. Did Lakewood want to take any kind of an ownership or offer any corrections to the issue that's creating the root cause of the erosion?
Well, the city of Lakewood, understood that there's major erosion going on in the area, but there was no, I don't think at that time, city of Lakewood didn't give us any plans or drawings or capital improvements to control the erosion at that time. That's why the contracted engineering company we had, Merrick, at that time thought, well, maybe we better put in pylons because of there's so much erosion going on. That might be the only thing that could hold up the pipe, because pylons go deep. So I think but it'll help us out a lot too, because we're, 30, 60, 90 is going to help out a great deal on the structures.
Okay.
Going to 0.65, is that cutting it kind of close? Would that be normal to target that close to the 0.7 threshold for capacity?
Yeah, well, JVA was comfortable with 0.65, but it goes back to with, this project goes through, we do it this year, and then new development goes up. This goes back to, we're gonna have to hold new development accountable to say, okay, if your new development goes back over 0.7, you're gonna have to start paying for larger diameter lines. So, but this is within the budgeted amount of the capital budget.
I have serious questions. Do you want to go?
go ahead. I have my question, but please go.
If we were fixing it now, it should last for a little while. Is what I would agree with you on, and that the next new development that comes in is not going to, so. Tell me, what is even if new development would pay for it, how long are we anticipating this pipe being good for?
All has JVA based on their model, so JVA has the model that's tied into this area. A lot of where this line is located, it's 100% of capacity now. And so they would take their model and say, okay, if this is what new development can happen, and even throw in the ADUs in there, and then they calculate based on different numbers, give us a spreadsheet that says, hey, this will go over 0.7 if this happens. So I guess JVA for that, since they have a model.
So I guess my question from an accounting side is, from a cost effectiveness, I mean, given what they're saying, which I agree with. So I don't know how pipes upsize, if it's an inch, 3 inches, 5 inches, you can pick whatever you
Yeah.
want. So, you know, if it's not cost prohibitive, if a 15 takes it to 0.65, does a 20 take it to 0.4, and it's only 20,000, if something nominal more to truly create a lot more volume capability within the line?
Well, yeah, so we'll ask JBA to plug in the model, but if you remember, if you size it too large, then you ruin that 2 feet per second of flow you need to scour the pipe to keep solid moving.
Velocity.
Yeah, so you gotta take into velocity consideration, but JBA is very good, so they'll do this calculation, no problem.
You're sliding out.
Yeah, that's the one that I got rid of.
Make it stand or something.
Jeff, is this 0.65 D over D at current build out or at maximum build out?
That's at current build out, that's definitely current build out, so we'll ask JBA to go back to the model and say what happens at max build out. I'm pretty sure current.
Can I throw another wrench into this? And we can, one, discuss it more later if necessary, and two, shoot it down, because I know Director Baker will not be happy with me for bringing it up, but we originally put this project on the list because we knew we had to fix this and we had development coming up. And a development was going to be impacted by this pipe that's at capacity, and we need to do it for development. That was one of the driving factors. We do not have a cost sharing agreement for this. Elkhire diet, do we know if he's
I've not heard anything.
coming back? So this may not be the priority that we thought it was going to be. It may be worth discussing and going back to the old priority, which of the last budget, I was, I have Atlantic. It was Atlantic on the last budget that we did not do because we had all these development projects going on.
So are you saying without the Alkire, without his facility being built, we would not need to upgrade this pipe?
That was part of our thing, yes, that we are adding to it.
So is this contingent upon his development going through? Or had we slated it?
This was a capital improvement, I thought,
It was, but
or
it got,
scheduled for this year,
yes,
based on the condition assessment of our piping. And I thought that's where we were at. So based on the condition, based on the prioritization.
right, but part of that prioritization was because we knew development, and the Green Mountain Swim Club is also gonna go down into that pipe. So we have development going on. We do not have anybody go on tap to say it needs to be done right now. We thought it was going to be coming, and maybe it's not this year. So maybe it is not
Priority.
maybe it is not the priority that we thought, that we needed to bump it up over an existing project like Atlantic.
Okay, so we can understand this correctly, you'll probably need to say we want to look at doing a hold on the Kentucky capital project based on the engineering modeling,
Based
looking at
on,
the new modeling.
based on not having that development happen as we thought this year, not needing to get in tune and prioritize that. But that's, I'm asking you, what do you think? I mean.
No, that's common sense. No, that makes sense to me. I mean, that should be a no-brainer, but you know. So if the Alkire project, I mean, that's in the hole right now. I mean, we haven't heard anything.
So the only thing we've heard, we have not heard from Mr. Thompson on the Elkhire project at all. And well, title company called customer service a couple of weeks ago, so I don't know if they're gonna sell it or what's going on, so I haven't heard anything on that.
So another question, so back on the Green Mountain Swim property, have they? I mean, come to the place where they know where they're intending to start? I mean, do they notify us of that
No,
for water taps or for?
No, we have not had any requests for water or sewer taps from that location.
So it's not even slated.
Should I just throw this in real quick, Jeff?
That's not allowed.
I heard last
We
night,
don't, Mike, I don't mean to be rude, but. You know, unless we try and keep the public comment out because we have to keep things
no,
rolling.
this isn't public comment.
Well, it is, because we're trying to have the board discuss it.
Well,
The board can ask out, I mean, like, you know, I was asking about a project manager, but we're to be respectful to everybody, and we've had to say that we just don't have an injection of public comment during the board meeting, so unless the board reaches out, or we ask the board if it's all right, so, and we're trying to restrict that because we don't want to make that a conditional thing, we're trying to be fair, and I probably shouldn't have asked about the project management thing, but it was important, so.
well, I was just going to talk about the federal center.
So I would recommend, I don't know that motion, maybe this is something, I don't know. To think about, we can put it on as a motion next time, if anybody has, because this is a reprioritization that we did a couple months of capital planning for.
Well,
But
so
I
you're
would suggest-
requesting JBA, right? Maybe direct Jeff to talk to JBA,
JDA.
and then.
They'll model it. So we'll go back and say, hey, can you go back and remodel Atlantic? Because they have the model. And they could come back and say, oh yeah, Atlantic is a hot one. It's 100% of capacity. And
Then we could do
then
that,
you could,
and we're legal with that with the budget, because what's the difference in the projects?
well, we're budgeted $890,000 for Kentucky. So we'll look at the model for Atlantic and see where we stand there and come back with the scope of that one. It's, you know, that's why we have JVA with the whole model.
Okay, are you good with that?
I'm good with that. I think, yeah, Atlantic was much less, but I think a good differentiator for moving them up on the priority was, I mean, they haven't even applied for caps and then get a cost agreement for sharing that. I don't know. Do you
Yes,
see
no
any
problem.
legal problems with-
I don't see any legal problems with that. I've spoken to 2 firms on the Alkire project and haven't received any formal communication from a practical perspective. I think we've had several years of delay on projects. So just from a pragmatic perspective, I'd recommend that you proceed with some projects.
Yes, the Atlantic project was the one that staff recommended last year. That we didn't do.
So we would be proceeding. I think that we need to have this ready for the next board meeting. This decision based off of engineering. They can make that decision, and then we'll approve replacing Atlantic with the Kentucky project for the March meeting.
Yeah, no problem.
For the next meeting, I'm sure I'm almost positive we're gonna have another meeting here.
And keep in mind, JVA is geared up to do that because you approved them to model the whole sewer system.
Okay,
So they're geared up.
anything else, Karen?
No.
Okay, all right, I will close out agenda item number 7. And I will turn it over to Director Hooks on financial matters.
Well, as always, so I reviewed the monthly and daily operating expenses, went over all the capital expenditures, went over the investment reports and financial reports. And based on that, I would like to make a motion that we accept the monthly and daily operating expenses and the capital expenditures and the unaudited interim financial reports, both investment and financial reports.
You're asking me to second it.
Trying to get you involved.
Well, I'll second it.
Or you don't have to.
No, I will. It's just a little bit over my head at the moment.
Just trying to get you in the game,
But I
buddy.
understand.
Get your feet wet. All right, we have a second. We have discussion.
No.
No further discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All 5 members voted aye, 0 nays, so the motion passes. So we are approved for January 2023 and February 2023 daily, monthly operation expenses and capital expenditures, and a January 2022 unaudited financial investment report. All right, I will close agenda item number 8 and move into agenda item number 9. Legislative committee update. Director Morgan, would you like to?
Sure. Director Wendell and I have been working hard on aligning our legislative priorities. Would you like to tell them where we stand?
I'm gonna need your help with it, but I was going to add to this, though. There's quite a bit going on, and Director Morgan has spent a considerable amount of time down at the State House. And we have been working closely with CLS, our contractor, our lobbyist, and I don't know if you need an analysis at this point or not. I think they're doing a great job. It's very fast paced. There's a lot going on. And I have to admit, it's a little bit tough to keep up with it at the moment.
If there is a lot going on, there are two main bills that we are, have positions on. And they have to do with metro districts and the financial components of how metro districts make money. If you listen to the rhetoric and you're downtown, and yes, I got the call at 11 o'clock today that there was one in committee and I ran downtown. If you listen to both sides on this, there are residents on one side and a bunch of developers on the other side. And if you do not take the positions, Green Mountain has registered one set of opinions and the developers are another. And if you do not agree with the developers, then there will be no more development ever. Housing prices will skyrocket, people will starve in the street, and I mean, you might as well have everybody die tomorrow. That's where they're at, and that's pretty much what they say. And today I got one of the senators asked one of the developers, what do you think about all of this being in the news? Does everybody who disagree with you, are they all hysterical and they just, what is going on here? And the Metro District person responded, yes, they're all hysterical. I'd have to say they're all hysterical. They don't know what they're talking about and it's just misunderstood. So it was very fun to be able to say, no, I understand very well. We're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars defending ourselves against this. So we have those two positions.
Nice.
If
Hold on. Who is the one that was saying it was not a problem? Was it SDA?
SDA is in opposite to whatever we are, yes, whatever,
And they did speak up.
yes.
that People like us be crazy?
They did not say that, but the people on their side did, yes.
What did SDA say exactly?
They said that, so the representative here, the SDA was last to testify today, and he basically said, thank you for all the previous testimony, and thank you for the people who are bringing it forward. Today's bill is Senate Bill 110. It is the Metro District Transparency Bill, which sounds wonderful, and all of the transparency things.
This gets a little, convoluted.
It's very convoluted. So what it is I am telling you that I have a conflict of interest.
So that you can have a conflict.
So that you can have a conflict of interest. And so everybody up there was saying, we need this conflict of interest. If we can't get this, we're never going to be able to build again. Developments will go down and blah, blah, blah.
Okay, so the developers are saying everything we do is a conflict of interest, so.
Disclose it and then it's mine.
Yeah, as long as you disclose it.
Yes.
So it's kind of like, there's like real conflicts and not so real. I mean, we're looking at real conflicts.
Yeah, these are real.
And they're just saying, well, everything's a conflict, so therefore nothing matters.
No, they're saying this is specifically about them having financial conflicts of interest and selling bonds to themselves so they can make money off of it as their director sitting on a metro district.
Yes, you're right.
They are self-dealing and making profits for themselves, and that is the exact financial mechanism that is under discussion. And they're saying, but we'll disclose it.
Yeah, and if you disclose it, it makes it all fine.
Yes.
Gotcha.
But I had a general question for the board in regards to the legislative committee. Maybe I didn't understand it correctly. Apparently, the board is putting its faith in the committee to decide on these various bills and proposals and our ability to make amendments. Do I understand that correctly? It's kind of up to Director Morgan and I to decide which bills to pursue, amendments and proposals and those kinds of things, or is it something the whole board wants to look at closely before we make a decision.
Well, council has the same sort of mechanism. And so, and they have a committee that kind of meets almost weekly or it's bi-weekly.
We
And
meet daily, but
wow, wow. Well, in that case, but anyway, the point is, you can't keep up with it, you know?
Yeah.
And so therefore, it is delegated to you to use your best judgment. Now, that being said, if there were some questions in your mind as to what should be our interest, and you're not clear as to where we want to be, and there's time, and et cetera, you could come to us. It's not like it's impossible, but on the other hand, I don't think it's required.
we've been doing this for maybe a total of 3 weeks now, and it's obvious there's a lot and there's very little time. Which brings the second part of my question is, Director Morgan and I will probably discuss maybe paring some of this down. We don't have the time and resources to look at every single bill that we believe applies to our district. And some of it, I think we're just gonna have to overlook, or
What is our,
I don't know if you're in agreement, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
what is our vendor doing?
He is providing, he has given us a short list of things that may pertain to us. So, and we can register opinions on all of that. We can send that to you. For example, the employee, the Fair Act, anything that affects employers in the district, and the voting in the district, business in the district, we are all of those. So that's a lot of bills. So far, and Director Wendell and I are in agreement on a lot of things, but as a district,
Certainly.
we have not registered an opinion on all of those. We have done.
So if we do that, then our legislator, the person that we've hired,
lobbyists.
our lobbyist, would they then go to the writer of the bill, or do they go to a committee where they then propose any change we're proposing? I mean, is that?
Do they testify?
They-
Our lobbyists?
They have not testified. I haven't asked them to. I'm assuming, no, I have gone down and testified on both bills.
We asked them to, they would.
I do not know.
Okay.
We can ask. This
Is
was
that
a
included in
trial.
our fee, or is that extra? Just out of curiosity,
I do not know. For testifying,
right?
yeah, I do not know. They are willing, and what they will be doing next is trying to set up some meetings with us on committees. Right now, there's a House bill on the Metro District that says make this behavior illegal. The Senate bill is coming in and saying, let's make it legal. So they're set up for a clash, and it went very quickly through committee. And we're barely keeping up on that part, and now it'll move a little bit slower, and he's gonna set up some meetings for us to talk about that and see if we can sway anything.
Let me ask a question to Dylan. And ordinarily, the idea of doing a phone poll or email poll or something like that is ordinarily forbidden. But if we have a situation like this, where legislature is gonna be voting tomorrow. And so can I get a sense right now as where we want to go? Like, say Roger wants to go one way, Aaron wants to go the other way, and we're not sure. Could you do an emergency phone poll in a situation like that?
I think it would be fine to solicit the opinions of fellow directors on this sort of thing, because this doesn't really rise to the level of formal action of the board. But you shouldn't do like a conference call. You shouldn't have a meeting. You know, but if Director Morgan calls each of you and asks if you have a position and relays to the lobbyist a position, a generalized position, I don't think that rises to the level of a violation of the act.
Are you interested in seeing so we have this debate too, how much communication do you want to see? They do send us a weekly dossier. This one is 21 pages long, and it gives you a summary on anything, and if we have a position, it will say.
And
so.
these are all bills that they believe are pertinent to us.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who put this together? The vendor?
Yes,
And he thinks all of these are relevant?
all
to
of
us?
those are relevant to us.
Holy crap.
But like Director Morgan mentioned, like business and employers, she means us as an employer and our employees. it affects so many different things.
Yeah, if you thought the meetings were gonna over, or the minutes were gonna take up your reading, wait till you start diving into this.
Well, I remember the SBA putting out something like this, and I have to admit, I haven't looked at this yet, so pardon me.
Just came in today.
So anyway, SBA kind of did something like that, and it'd be like a paragraph for each one. So each page would be like 5 bills, and you'd have 50 pages, and it's like, 250 bills. And it's like, well, that's still a lot, but that's, but that's everybody for SBA.
Right.
If these are just for us, holy smokes.
Yeah, they're mostly the same. 90% of them are the same. But where we needed the representation is on this, where the SDA is saying, yes, make it legal to have a conflict of interest, and we are saying no. So that's why I don't know where their position is on all these other ones,
Yeah.
but it's,
My general sense is it's discouraging for me that the SDA doesn't seem to represent us directly.
Well, we expected that.
Well,
You
so here's-
understand on the scale of what the SDA is, right? You look at the people that are in their membership that align with water and sanitation districts similar to us, there's 100 and some members in SDA.
Generally?
Yeah.
1,800.
Oh, 1,800. So I know we're in the minority.
Correct.
And then that's why, typically they're metro districts, which tend to be developers. So that's why you're gonna see that big slant. They're gonna be developer, pro-development heavy. And, you can't really talk about anything that would even to what Director Morgan's saying, you're like being hysterical or crazy or something, no, we're not, but everyone needs to have a voice, right? And they don't want to, they don't want that.
so do you want to see a full listing of bills? Do you want to see if you want to register any more opinions? And they also sent out a newsletter, which was full of 50 comments about the Super Bowl.
The vendor or SBA?
The vendor.
Well, this is our
CLS
first
does.
flush, so it just came out today. None of us really, obviously it's.
I guess, yeah, I don't really know my answer.
Yeah, I don't have a question even.
It just depends on how much you want to see. That was the question. So we didn't want to overload you was the thing, but we're happy to send everything along, and you can tell us to stop next time too. What do you
Seems
think?
like a fire hose already.
I-
Why don't we wait and see? Let us process what we,
Okay.
because it's a huge
It is.
data drop and, I don't even know what to say other than it's heavy and I'm old, so.
Yeah.
But I'll reiterate, I'm really impressed with the vendor, the lobbyist. There's a couple of them, Andrew and the woman, I don't remember her name, but they're really on top of all of this and they move at lightning speed. So that's where I'm lagging, but it looks like it's money well spent for the moment.
They really do, and I should have led with that. They called me down and they coached me through testimony and told me where any parking and whatnot. But first testimony for the house was started at 1 o'clock, and he said, you may be called probably between 3 and 5 was his guess, but it may go as late as 6. I didn't get called until after 7. We didn't leave until after 8. And Andrew stayed with me for the whole 7 hours, and he did the same today. I mean, they've got stuff to do, but we're just waiting for, waiting for public comment. You know how that is. We've all done that. So he was really handholding.
Can you tell at this point whether this is like the big issue? I was thinking when I read the paper, the big issue would be this local control issue.
I mean, they're taking it away or they are.
That's part of the proposal, yeah.
Right, yeah.
And take away not only from the cities and stuff like that, and make all zoning state control. So anyway, that's what I was looking for.
Right.
So, I guess I did hear about this one before. That's 2. Are those like the top 2? Do we have any sense of prioritizing? Because we probably can't look at everything. But, well, I'm speaking for you. You can't look at everything because I'm not doing it. But anyway, you can't do everything. But can they narrow it down to, what's the half dozen that's worth your effort, or do we have to literally go through hundreds and hundreds trying to narrow?
How are you gonna want them to filter? You gotta give them the filter where you gotta give them the filters.
Yeah.
They can't process or know what we're thinking. We don't know what we're thinking, it sounds like.
We don't know, and I mean, the original filter was just the metro districts, and there's 4 bills on metro districts. So Yeah, there will be more. The local control bills haven't all come out yet. They're waiting for that to drop, so that will be another one. This,
So we could look at this list and like, we can report back to Director Waddell and Morgan, right? And like, we're interested in this and they could, you know,
Yeah, when you said 4 bills, it's like, okay, that's doable.
well, except there could be something, I know you, there's like, oh, you're, you know, it resonates with you, right? Resonates with it, whatever, I don't know, then you can give the inputs. We just don't know yet, because we don't know.
I've not looked at them, so I have no answer.
we haven't looked at, there's, like, we talked about, and there's a lot of different positions we could talk about and agree on. I don't know what rises to the level of we need to register an opinion on. This one I know impacted us financially because of the lawsuits and the Rooney Valley situation. So that's why I could differentiate that. We are financially impacted by this one. We need to do what we can to say, stop doing this, stop enabling this conflict of interest. And for
Do
the,
we have any other allies besides ourselves? There was a group last year, wasn't they, that it was
yes.
doing,
And they showed up at the House bill hearing, and that hearing for that lasted over 2 hours as well, mostly because of them. This one, that one in the House bill that had support and opposition, that had the developers and the residents, that lasted 2 hours. This one today, that was only developer support, I was the only voice in opposition against it. It was in the Senate, and there was over 2 hours of public comment just from developers. This one's got heavy hitting developers on their side. So it is very probable it is going to pass. They're not open to anything else. All we can do is give it our best shot. And we would not have any other outcome. We didn't have the lobbyists to go and arrange these meetings afterwards either. All you have is public comment. It's so no, I mean, it's pretty, but we do what we can.
Okay, anything else on the, good job on that, by the way.
Thanks. Thank you for letting us try this. And like, I think CLS is doing a fantastic job. So
I'm gonna pass this around to the crowd if they want to see it. So, I mean, this is your response to a lot of these things. You know, just look through that and ask for them. Okay, now we're gonna close that and we're going to move into
I had,
disclosure of. That was your addition to the agenda.
that was me as well. I mentioned in our last meeting that we had evidence of this, a leak of privileged information. And that I would investigate it. I did investigate it. We do have a name involved, but I believe the scope was limited since it was limited in scope. So it didn't get out there as far as I initially thought. This is up to us to self-police. So it is important to not dismiss the incident. However, since it was limited in scope, I believe we can take this up as a warning, and I'm recommending that we turn it over to legal counsel to follow up as necessary with the individual rather than make it a bigger issue. As long as everybody else is okay with that.
Is that something we have to motion, Dylan?
Well, are you saying you want me to take action on this event, or do you want me to just take action if it happens again?
I would recommend you
Council?
tell this person not to do it, issue a warning. Take legal action.
I can just take direction. I don't need a motion on that.
Okay. All right, anything else, Karen?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, we'll close agenda item number 9 and we'll move into legal matters, agenda item number 10. Dylan, do you have anything?
Non-executive matter issues. Brief update on the election. The deadline for submission of self-nomination forms is February 24th at close of business. That's going to be to Sue Blair with CRS, who's your designated election official. With the information we received tonight that there's been an additional submission of the self-nomination, I think that you are on track for a contested election. But I haven't confirmed that with Sue. So I don't know how many self-nomination forms she's received, but my mental tally is more than open seats.
Okay, so Jeff and Dylan, with that being said, do we have, now that we have a contested election? I'm sure it triggers something we have to start signing, and we do have allocated funds in the 2023 budget for the election cycle. So is there?
It does, it actually works the other way.
Oh,
Yeah, so if you don't, if February 24th rolls around and you don't have more than open seats, then you roll back everything. The election is canceled and the directors are deemed elected.
okay,
So the resolution that you adopted presumes that it's going to be contested. And
Okay.
you've got to do for that.
okay. All right,
It'll be a mail ballot election, just like the last two.
okay. Anything else in the open?
I've asked on that issue. Would it be appropriate and all right to ask Sue Blair, whatever, CRS to double check the voter rolls to avoid the problem that we had last time?
I'm not aware of the problem last time.
Wasn't that at Jeffco's level?
So look, I checked in on that, the county clerk, when they. Jeffco County Clerk, when they had the redistricting here in Colorado, had omitted. A whole section, a whole neighborhood was left out of my understanding. They were left out and then they were brought in. I think it happened late.
It was from the beginning, where the whole western side of the district was gone, and it really was before the redistricting, so it didn't have anything to do with it, but that was a convenient excuse. So I just want to make sure we've got everybody.
Yeah, I see. I thought you meant checking individuals' fault.
No, it was the county clerk's
Right,
fault. It
yeah,
wasn't
I
Sue
remember
Blair's fault.
No, but
They're gonna request a list from the county and they get, there's not really any. Actually, since they did it last year and there hasn't been a change, I could ask her to compare the list they received this year to the list they got last year and just make sure that that's been corrected. So we can do sort of a preliminary analysis on that.
just looking for holes in it. Again, we're not gonna catch everybody.
But you can only go by what the county clerk and then.
But yeah, missing a whole neighborhood was.
They were reelected,
Yeah,
so I guess it's a big deal, so.
And there will be a supplemental list, there's gonna be
Yeah.
30 or 50 left off.
Yeah.
That's normal.
Yeah,
The-
but not
the
that much.
thing-
Not yet, yeah. Especially in an election that typically about 1,000 people vote,
Yeah,
that's not good.
Dylan, can I hand you this? This is the boundary for Jefferson County. Look that over. Tell me the room.
oh, yeah, we got this on your behalf also, so we'll complete this.
Thank you.
Just so the board knows, this is just, record keeping for Jefferson County. We will be letting them know that you represent the district and that your map didn't change last year. This is, compliance with updated transparency requirements that took effect, take effect this year.
All right, anything else in the open?
Excuse me, Leo, a quick question on that.
Yeah.
Is that the stuff where at the beginning of the year, you're supposed to say like your records are at this location? And you're gonna be making reports on this basis, kind of the usual rollover every time?
Yeah.
Or is it something that?
Yeah, this is new. It is a single addition to the annual compliance obligations that are taken care of then.
What's the addition?
Has the district boundary line changed since 2022? Do you plan on changing the district boundary lines redistricting in 2023? So, this actually doesn't apply to you.
Well, it could if we were changing our boundaries, but
Yeah, your obligation to inform them of boundary changes predates the updated legislation. So you already have to do this.
Yeah, we do with the Department of Local Affairs.
and I assume you'd tell them if you're gonna do something. But a lot of these things is you have to put it in every year and it's just kind of same old as last year sort of thing. Would you have to do that on the boundaries, for instance, like no change every year?
Yep.
Or
And you have done that. I don't know the last time you had an inclusion, but it's probably been 5 or 6 years that you've just submitted the no boundary change. I can tell you, so I have your name. That does conclude my open session remarks,
Okay,
unless there are any questions for me.
no questions for Dylan in the open. All right, I will close agenda item number 10. Open agenda item number 11, and I will motion to go into executive session.
Second.
We have a second.
Well, wait. Which one do you want to do? I told Scott that we'd probably get to him about 9. That's what I was projecting, but we're.
Do these all three, can they be handled in the same, or do we have to do 3 separate?
These need to be 3 separate.
Okay, so I will, let's go, I will motion to go into executive session for the negotiators regarding red zone tank pre-litigation mediation. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor of moving into executive session for the negotiators regarding red zone tank pre-litigation mediation, say aye. Aye. We have 5 ayes, 0 nays. We're gonna have to have you say the sacred words and we'll have to clear the room. Sorry, so we will report out of executive session. We're gonna have to go in and out for the Ravine Bridge. That'll be probably, it's hard to tell, you know, how this thing goes, but
Yeah.
we're gonna have 3 executive sessions, so we'll be bouncing in and out, but we will be coming out into the public with a position, some sort of a statement on the Ravine Bridge.
Yeah.
If you want to do online, here's. Yeah, readers online.
Will there be an opportunity for comment on our side at that point, or just your statement?
It'll be a statement, but
My understanding of the motion was that you were.
No, I'm sorry. I just wanted a board discussion. I wanted something to.
we're gonna have a public statement, Peter, and then
Yeah, if it's just a statement, we'll probably just do it via Zoom, but our reason for staying actually was our understanding is that it would be a chance for public comment, but if that's the case, we'll just review the Zoom afterwards.
okay. All right, thank you all for coming. Thank you for the Valentine's. Thank you, everybody. for coming. Have a safe trip. Happy Valentine's Day.
You as well, thank you.
Yesterday at city council.
You did?
Give him how.
So we're gonna need.
Oh, I did it online, yeah.
Start and stop 3 times. Yeah, if you want, I can just do it.
Would you call me?
Whatever.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
Mike, it'll be tomorrow, probably sometime.
Well, I heard some stuff on the St. Anthony. I mean,
Benchmark and
the federal center line.
Yeah.
Stop.
Can I call you at midnight?
Sure. I don't care, as long as he gets to the board, that's all I care.
Okay, yeah, Dave could probably, you know, I'll give you a call. I gotta get up early for another appointment, so.
Okay.
I'm hoping we're not here till midnight.
As the district's attorney, it is my opinion that the discussion of the matter announced in the motion to go into executive session constitutes a privilege of attorney-client communication. I am therefore recommending that no further record be kept until the executive session has
You know,
been.
he was here, he was staff, he was.
The purposes of the executive session are for receiving specific legal advice on a red zone tank, contract dispute, negotiating mediation, and for instructing negotiators and concerning positions regarding negotiation, each under 24-6-402 sub 4 sub B and 24-6-402 sub 4 sub E. The time is now 7:44, and I'm requesting that the recording be turned off. The time is now 8:44, and I am turning the recorder back on because the attorney-client communication has ended. The executive session has been concluded. The participants in the executive session were the board of directors, Jeff Tyus, district manager, and myself, general counsel for the district. For the record, if any person who participated in the executive session believes that any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motion to go into the executive session occurred during the executive session, or that any improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meetings law, I'd ask that you state your concerns for the record.
None.
Seeing none, the next agenda item is 11A.
I motion to go into executive session for purposes of receiving legal advice regarding the Big Sky appellate litigation and status report.
I'd second that.
We have a second. Do we have discussion? No discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We have 5 ayes, 0 nays. The motion passes.
As the district's attorney, it is my opinion that the discussion of the matter announced in the motion to go into executive session constitutes privileged attorney-client communication. I am therefore recommending that no further record be kept until the executive session has been concluded. The time is now 8:45 and I am turning off the tape recorder. The time is now 9:35 and I have resumed the recording because the attorney-client communication is finished. The participants in the executive session were the board of directors, Jeff Tyler, district manager, myself, general counsel for the district, and Scott Gessler, litigation counsel for the district. For the record, if any person who participated in the executive session believes that any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motion to go into the executive session occurred during the executive session, or that any improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meetings law, I'd ask that you state your concerns for the record.
None.
Seeing none, the next agenda item is 11C. Ravine structure.
I move that we go into executive session for ravine structures.
For the purpose of receiving legal
Oh,
advice.
for the purpose of receiving legal advice.
I will second that.
Okay, we have discussion. No further discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
5 ayes, 0 nays. The motion passes.
As the district's attorney, it is my opinion that the discussion of the matter announced in the motion to go into executive session constitutes privileged attorney-client communication. I am therefore recommending that no further record be kept until the executive session is concluded. The time is now 9:36, and I am turning off the recorder. The time is now 10:25, and I have turned the recorder back on because the attorney-client communication is finished. The executive session has been concluded. The participants in the executive session were the board of directors, Jeff Tyus, district manager, and myself, general counsel for the district. As I said previously, if anyone believes that any substantial conversation or discussion of matters not included in the motion to go into executive session occurred, or that any improper action occurred during the executive session, I ask that you state your concerns for the record.
None.
Seeing none, the next agenda item is 12, ravine public discussion.
All right, so we have a few things that we came out of with executive. From that executive session. I wanted to ask our attorney, Mr. Woods, if you could tell us, just recap how it's been going with Lakewood over the past month. What was your experience with them talking?
Sure. So without getting into any privileged matters, I've had a number of conversations with counsel for the city of Lakewood, deputy city attorney. I have not spoken with the named city attorney. Those conversations, for my part, started about 2 years ago, and have been, for the most part, cordial. In the past month or so, the tenor of those conversations has really turned less cordial. It's my understanding the city of Lakewood is taking a very strong position with respect to the potential trespass for the lines that the district owns that may possibly lie outside the legal description of the easement that the district has. And Lakewood is taking a very strong position, at least with respect to their conversations with me, that they would be within their rights to force the district to move those lines to conform with the legal description. Again, without getting into any privileged or confidential information, I'm not confident that Lakewood's position is entirely defensible, but it is the position that they've taken, and that has changed the tenor of our conversations for, in my opinion, to a negative one. It has been somewhat aggressive and harsh and threatening over the past few weeks. Although it is a positive, as a result of those conversations, we have received the proposal that the board is, has been presented with now.
Because do you feel like that was voluntary, that they were giving us that?
I specifically requested that rather than engaging in any further back and forth, Lakewood just present the board with a proposal that it could take action on or respond to. And I believe that my request was, has produced this proposal.
Very good, thank you. That proposal is a little bit problematic because it doesn't, now, it does do some good things, it does move the ball, but it doesn't address the problem of the dual use function that we would need to see some kind of financial footing for. There was no money involved in that. I would like to make sure that everyone knows that these have been operating as dual use bridges for a little while. That's why everybody is here looking at them. But Lakewood is not interested in continuing the bridges at some of these locations, like the Middle and South Bridge. Today, it looks like we are choosing to close these bridges of our own accord, but that's not the reality. Lakewood should have closed the trail years ago when they made the decision that they weren't going to be upkeeping this or the bridge. On the other hand, I think Green Mountain could have communicated our decision to move the line and replace the structure a little better. We made this vote in May, but the city didn't know that, and that has not helped the situation move forward either. So the district could do better too. I'm a little disappointed there. Bigger picture though, I find it problematic that Lakewood seems to own bridges until they need fixed. And I'm worried about assuming more costs in future. That Park Bridge asset list that we got lists the 3 ravine bridges. But as we all saw, they have a note that says that they're not really bridges, they're for sewer use, so they're not really bridges at all. Today, that list shows the same, shows Coyote Gulch as a bridge, but that's the same kind of structure. It has a sewer crossing as well. So I worry that when that bridge needs repaired, a note will appear and magically Green Mountain will have to pay full cost for a new bridge repair, and that'll be another $1 million. So we need to be smart about this and not keep assuming Lakewood's problems. Towards that end, I proposed a different starting spot, which was a memorandum of understanding that kind of outlines how the district and the city has been working thus far. It would be helpful if we could both acknowledge and go back to where we understood Lakewood owned these bridges, operated these bridges, they were Lakewood's. That returns the bridges, especially the North Bridge, back to Lakewood control. They could keep that bridge, they could keep it open. If Lakewood decides to close a trail, they are not interested in a bridge anymore, they could go through a formal decommission process, which is what I think they did. It was just not formal. Close the bridge, explain, close the trail, close the bridge, tell people that the city is not managing it anymore. That is the city management decision. And then convey that bridge to us, and then we replace it with something more suitable for just a water district. If the district, if we get to a place where the city wants to replace the bridge, we would have a starting point for costs, and the city would pay for the cost over and above that trestle. That would just operate the pipe. And then the city would contribute the cost of the demolition of the bridge, the existing structure that's in place, removal of the bridge, things like that, so that there is some kind of financial equity there that goes on. And then that would also address the liability, the city would own the liability, they would still be operating it, it would still be theirs, so all of that is covered. We would still, by that measure, have to, address the easements and the erosion, and those are, but those are minor problems in between, and we can just file that and work with the city. So we have an understanding that we will work on those things to come to agreement. I think that way we would cover all of the bases, kind of as it has been in the past, gives us a path forward in the future, especially acknowledges that North Bridge for people. It acknowledges all the board votes that we had before, puts us on the right path, and gives us a starting place.
Is it fair to summarize then that we still have strong safety concerns, somebody getting hurt on these pipes and these pipe hangers? We have concerns about the environment, possible spill, a breakage of the pipe because people are climbing on them. And, you know, costs, we have a duty to our constituency to control costs. So if the city is interested in any kind of pedestrian crossing or bridge, pedestrian rated, that's a rather expensive undertaking, and it's not in our authority to engage in that kind of a construction project or purchase. Am I kind of seeing where we're at on this?
Exactly, I think you got it, that, and they would have, so they could come up and contribute that cost over to make it man-rated. We would still, like for today, have to address the safety concerns of the middle bridge. We're looking at the replacement structure, but you know, the barriers may still be used for that now. It's not safe to be, we have tried to close it off multiple times, so there's another that addresses that as well. And we wouldn't be wasting money on anything because this is the way we have to go forward with that. What else did I miss? Did we encapsulate anything else? Talk about anything?
Well done, you covered it. I think we got a good starting point coming out.
You want to clarify that we will put up the barriers on the southern two structures?
Yes.
I would think we have to do, the middle anyway. We're going forward on the barriers, we do that, but if Lakewood would, but if Lakewood would talk to us about this, my guess is Lakewood will say, no matter what, they don't want that southern bridge. There've not been any interest, in which case they would immediately move into decommissioning that bridge and the trail, and the barriers would still go up.
Yes.
But is that the opening position? I wouldn't recommend that, but, so I'm just recommending the decommission process be part of it so that they can make that formal decision and then move it to us if they decide they don't want this pedestrian bridge, which is what I think they have done, and they just never told anybody.
But to make sure I understand, we're not opposed to any pedestrian bridge or crossing. We just don't have the authority to fund that kind of construction.
Correct, it's
So
it's outside of our bounds as a water and sewer district.
Yeah.
So all we're just
certainly
saying, we're just back to. I mean, I've lived here my whole life. I would love them to have a pedestrian rated portion to them. But that is not something that this district is set up to bear. This district is set up to provide water and sewer safely.
Right, we're not a park and rec.
We're not a park and recreation district, and so. I love the idea of the city of Lakewood partnering with us to add the extra component of making those pedestrian rated so that the people, the kids in their open space ravine parks have the ability to use means to get across the ravines without having to traverse around them.
But the city of Lakewood doesn't seem interested in working with us. How can we compel them to understand the situation?
Well, they believe it's just the quick thing is that with their statement that they'll assume liability. And they'll maintain this walking service, which is. That's a small fraction of the entire. Costs of maintaining the structure, especially in the existing conditions.
That's right. I don't know that we have any way to compel them to.
We don't have any way to compel them, but
You do. The only reason they're compelled is because a bunch of people showed up at their city council meeting in the beginning. That's when it was all started. So the way you compel them is through the people.
well, the people compelled. Them after we had to decide on the barricades, which after 4 years, that's where we had to go. So this isn't like we just woke up and started this 2 weeks ago. This has been
Right.
years in the working. And it's come to this friction.
Go ahead, right.
Come to a head.
Well, we have to get the people on our side to show.
Well, what we want is to take ownership of our portion of it, but we want Lakewood to take ownership of their portion of it.
Yep. So are we good?
Seems
On
reasonable.
the statement?
Yes.
Any further comments at this point?
So I'm going to add the additional language we talked about, and send it to legal, and then we can, send that to the city and or post that if anybody's interested.
So we should post it on our website, and I think we need to post that timeline that you socialized tonight, and we did put that into the audience.
Yeah, do you have that digital?
I do have it digitally, but I meant it more for discussion than for anything else. It may need a look over for wide public use, but it's the things that caught my attention.
Well, I think people need to see the timeline,
Okay.
right? So you could just put it as a work product or something. We could post that on the website as a work product,
And it's a draft.
Okay.
draft.
I
And
will
then,
send it
yeah.
to Mr. Davis.
Okay, are there any further discussions on the Ravine Bridge? All right, I'm gonna close that executive session. We close the agenda item number 12, public Ravine Bridge statement. And agenda item number 13, new business and notifications for next board meeting.
Yes, that's me. I would like to know if we can get any update maybe next time from the financial committee. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
And has there been any movement?
The committee would have to meet at some point, so yeah.
I can tell you what he and I actually talked about was. When we had our, what was the meeting that you had, Jeff?
Which one?
The one where we did all the stickers.
Oh, that was a Kaizen.
Oh, the Kaizen. So during the Kaizen, what Dave and I were discussing was really, we can talk about getting money for things, but if we truly, we're kind of truly limited by the amount of money we have for the projects and the cash flow that we have, and that was something that we were talking with Doug, or we mentioned to Doug. And so it's almost like the idea where whether it's Alki or Kentucky or Atlantic or any of the things we're talking about, if we were to get $10 million, or if we were to get even $80 million, like our budget said, we couldn't undertake all of those projects because we'd have the entire Green Mountain subdivision torn up from one place to another. And so we kind of chose to put it off, was the way I guess I understood Dave and I's talk, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but because it appears, I mean, we seem to be greatly limited by the cash that we have in doing it. And so projecting out all of it almost doesn't seem like we were going to try to project it all to the end, and I'm not really sure that that's real viable, honestly. But
I disagree.
weigh in.
And the point was to find a plan for, because we do have all of that, and so that is financing mechanisms, that is increasing fees. So we're not talking about 100 million today, we're talking about increasing to 5 or 6 million a year as opposed to 1 or 2. So that still increases rates, increases fees. So
Well,
go talk about it and meet as a committee, and you had lots of volunteers.
Yeah, I was gonna say, why
And-
don't we
and
also
talk.
invite public to come in as well?
that's fine.
A couple other people would be helpful.
Cause what I didn't realize was some of the ways I was wanting to get extra money are not allowed. So we have very limited means of increasing our revenues in all candor. I mean, we have our regular rate increases. We kind of have the fee that we use, the administrative fee. We have like our tap fees. But as far as like finding just adding, we just can't add. It's like back when you were saying we have to defend what we do. You can't just say, hey, we're gonna increase our, our revenues this year are $2 million. Next year, we wanna make them $4 million. That's not gonna happen.
We have $80 million on our 10-year list.
We do.
So. I
So
don't
we
want to
had
get
talked
into
about bonds. I mean, we can get into like what, bonds and all kinds of things, but at the point we start going out and getting bonds, we better have 5, 10, $15 million of work to do.
We do.
I mean, you don't just put $20 million of bonds out there and then not do the work. And again, I don't know. I guess that's something to be later.
Well, anyway, like I said, I think we can go ahead and get started on it. The other thing I was gonna say as far as new business is I think last time I was bringing up, I'd like to explore that option of, the supermajority for extraterritorial stuff. I think I mentioned it last time and, Terrence mentioned it. It's been out there for a while, so I'd like to follow up on that.
Tell Jeff to put it on the agenda.
Yeah.
Under directors matter, super majority concerning IGA. Extraterritorial agreements. Okay, do we have anything else?
You might reach out to Sue Blair for an election update for the March meeting.
Like how many people have signed up or?
Yeah, just to confirm that you're having a contested election. Last election, you solicited candidate bios. You can do that again.
Okay. We'll move into, I'm gonna motion, unless we have anything else, I'm gonna motion to adjourn.
I will second the motion.
Second, discussion? No discussion, all in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
The meeting is adjourned at 10:45 PM. Thank you very much.